Shabbat Shalom, Cantor. How are you?
I'm good. I got to do Shabbat twice today. I Zoomed with my cantor friend Zoe Jacobs in London earlier, so I'm really glad to be here with Shabbat in Houston. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really glad to be here with you and wishing Shabbat Shalom to all who are joining us tonight. We are so glad that you are here for our service. We hope that it's been a very good week for you, a week that has had many bright spots and a week that takes us forward. If you've not yet had a chance to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so now. And we will invite you to chime in with comments and Shabbat greetings later in the service. And we'll be asking a specific question. What are the gestures of love that you're finding most meaningful right now? And the reason that we opened with Olam Chesed and a reference to building the world with love in this question is because in this week's Torah portion, we read the Shema and we read V'ahavta about love. So those connector pieces linking our portion, our teachings with our prayers is the way that we're finding it meaningful to lead on this Shabbat. You'll be able to follow along using the words either that are projected on the screen in front of you or with a prayer book in your hands. We'll be reading out page numbers as we go along. And so we begin as we do each week as we prepare to kindle the lights of Shabbat. In your prayer book, pages 2 and 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We now welcome Shabbat with these words, let us sing out to God. Lechu neranena. now we continue welcoming Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, Shabbat like a bride. Lecha Dodi, Mikrat Kala, Ene Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Mikrat Kala, Ene Shabbat, Nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'ritila lecha dodi, mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi. Mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, nerosh mikdash nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshava tchila lecha dodi. Mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi. Mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech kumi ori, ori shedaferi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla lecha dodi, lecha dodi. Mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela. And now we rise and face the entrance of the room we are in as we welcome in Shabbat. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvtzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, mikrat kala, ene Shabbat nekavela.
The songs and readings that lead up to this point in our service help us to prepare to open ourselves up for Shabbat. So with our hearts now open and our souls ready, we continue with the Baruch Hu on page 28. We continue now on page 31 in the book. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, Uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, Ki hem chayeinu, Ve'orech yameinu, Uvahem negei yomam v'layla, Negei yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir, Mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam va'ed. You may be seated. And I want to remind you of the question that we asked earlier that you can fill in the chat. What are the gestures of love that you are finding most meaningful right now? As we sing our Ve'ahavta, a special Ve'ahavta tonight. And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up and shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
We've had lots of nice responses about gestures of love that you're finding most meaningful right now. It might be the little glass of orange juice on the nightstand after you get out of the shower every morning. It might be phone calls or texts or video chats with those that we love. For those who have visitors in person, seeing the faces of grandchildren, it might be a gesture of call and concern from the congregation, from our leadership. It sounds like the common thread is that when somebody does something for us and reaches out from themselves to us to do something kind, to let us know that they're thinking of us, that we feel love. Indeed, that is the good that is in us, that expression of love that we can share with others that adds brightness to their lives. We continue now with a reading that can be found on page 123 in our prayer book. The good in us will win over all the wickedness, over all the wrongs we have done. We will look back on the pages of written history and be amazed, and then we will laugh and sing. And the good that is in us, children in their cradles will have won. Our hearts beat with certainty that there is a day and an hour and a mountain called Zion, and that all of the sufferings will gather there and become song, ringing out into every corner of the earth from end to end, and the nations will hear it. And like the caravans in the desert, will all to that morning throng. Shabbat marks the end of the week, a change from the regular into a time of holiness. It's indeed a time to rest and re-soul, also a time to celebrate and rejoice. Our prayer Yismechu reminds us that an important essence of Shabbat is tapping into the happiness and joy of the day. The words to Yismechu can be found on page 44.
Shabbat. B'kol eyoneg, b'kol eyoneg, yismechu b'malchutcha, shomerei Shabbat. Mekadeshei, mekadeshei shebi, kulam yismehu v'yitamu mituvecha, yismechu b'malchutcha, shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchutcha, shomerei Shabbat. B'kol eyoneg, b'kol eyoneg, yismechu b'malchutcha, shomerei Shabbat. והשביעי רצית בו, רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. בכל העונג, בכל העונג, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. One last time. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. We now move from the joy of Shabbat into our Amidah, our standing prayer. And so we now rise as we turn to page 46 in our books. Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Mechayei hakol ata rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayei, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Michayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'il hakadosh.
If you are standing, you may be seated. We continue with a special reading about Kedushat Hayom, the sanctification, recognizing how Shabbat is special and distinct from the rest of the week. That can be found in your prayer book on page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
We continue with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, which can be found on page 60. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adom lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech adom lechol ha-shalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. We now take a moment for the prayers of our hearts for a moment of silent prayer. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem. 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 Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle with this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle with this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem.
That beautiful arrangement of words from the book of Isaiah remind us that this is Shabbat Nachamu. It is the first Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, and there are subsequent Haftorah portions that are messages of comfort and consolation. how appropriate those words seem for all of us now, and especially as we go from that after silent prayer, beautiful melody, to our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer that asks God to be a source of healing for all who are in need, all who are suffering. We ask God to be with those and grant a refuah shlema, a full wholeness and recovery, to David Askenaz and Marcia Block, Bradley Borden, Carol Brush, Melba Berman, Jennifer Carey, Michelle Cohen, Miles Cohn, David Kottner, Richard Dana, Ann Graubart, Vicki Greenberg, Jerry Hooks, Aria Imiak, Asher Imiak, Michael Imiak, Rafaela Imiak, Sarah James, Bob Ketchum, Diane Ketchum, Dara Lambden, Lawrence Levy, Edward Simmons, Melinda Scholar, Angelica Taylor, Marcia Tsushida, Milton Wagner, Roger Williams, Chaim Leibish Velvel Ben Sheva, Esther Batrut, Velka Nechama Bat Liba Chaya, Patzit Bat Daisy Nathan, and all who are suffering from the coronavirus, all of those whose bodies are in any way diminished with physical illness or emotional distress and pain. We pray together the words of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
A few announcements on this Erev Shabbat. Thank you to Nathan Malik. You hear us mention his name quite often. We cannot express enough thanks for his help with our service. You can't see him, but his work helps to ensure that you can see and hear us, and we are deeply grateful. Please plan to join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for Havdalah for All, songs and celebration led by Cantor Simmons and Barbara Lozer. Pre-registration is required for this gathering, which will be on Zoom. You can find that link on the email that went out before Shabbat or on the temple's website. Next Friday, our classics group, which is for those in their 50s and 60s, will be gathering following services to break bread and learn some challah baking tips from Rabbi David Siegel. I think that is also on Zoom, and we ask that you please register online. And finally, we want to be sure that you remember that our clergy team and staff are here for you now and for always. If you need pastoral support or assistance from a member of our staff team, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can do our best to be a helping hand. So it was a conscious decision. It was something we began doing with them as early as I can remember. When our children were old enough to understand, we offered them lots of surprises. Not gifts or physical things, but rather experiences. Most places we visited were surprise places. We'd get ready for an outing, and when they'd ask where we were going, we'd announce to a surprise place. Our sharing the plan of heading to a surprise place was often spontaneous. Now, don't misunderstand. There's always been a lot of structure and activities that the children knew to anticipate and that were very much punctuating their days, weeks, and months. But on a Saturday night when we had tickets to Sesame Street Live, we never told them ahead of time. We rather announced, everyone get ready, put your shoes on, we're heading to a special surprise place. The surprise place could be a show or a movie, a special play structure, an outing to feed the ducks and geese at Herman Park, a visit to the ice cream parlor when they were already in their pajamas, a trip to Disney World or Chicago to see Hamilton, big and small adventures alike. And while one reason we did this was to add a playful dose of fun and excitement, practically there was another reason. Because things come up and best laid plans at times fall apart, our surprise place spontaneous seemed planning somehow a barrier against disappointment. You likely know what I'm talking about. The weeping devastation of a child who only wants the sweet treat or the new fun thing or the highly anticipated visit to Playland to then find their hopes dashed because the store is closed, the toy is sold out, or the playground is under construction. The deep sadness is painful, and for the child, that's the case, but for the grown-ups too. In this week's Torah portion, we read of Moses appealing to God. I pleaded with the Eternal at that time, saying, O Eternal, you who let your servant see the first works of your greatness and your mighty hand, you whose powerful deeds no God in heaven or on earth can equal, let me, I pray, cross over and see the good land on the other side of the Jordan, that good hill country and the Lebanon. The Eternal One answered Moses and said, enough, never speak to me of this matter again. Go up to the summit of Pisgah and gaze about to the west, the north, the south, and to the east. Look at it well, for you shall not go across yonder Jordan. Give Joshua his instructions and imbue him with strength and courage, for he shall go across at the head of this people, and he shall allot to them the land that you may only see. For those who know the biblical narrative, those familiar with the commitment that Moses had shown to the people Israel through thick and thin, through wandering and complaining, the devastation of Moses's disappointment is palpable. And in this last book of the Torah, we are left holding that sadness. Here in our portion, Moses retells the story of this devastation, and we feel the pain that still stings his wounded soul. Yes, some may argue God's severe decree was unjust and too harsh. But what is chronicled here is the sharing of grief and pain that come from disappointment. It's a powerful and painful piece of narrative, I imagine, because it's an emotionally honest piece of text that resonates deep within each and every one of us. Disappointment is one of the most challenging human experiences and one that is inescapable with the human condition. To be human is to know the struggle of disappointment, to want or hope or plan for that which is not is often painful. In a commentary on this week's portion, Rabbi Michael A. Singer offers a powerful teaching. He writes, a modern proverb that asserts that expectations are planning disappointments may be most appropriate to describe the sad moment in Moses's life when he realizes that there will be no more pleading. He must simply accept the fact that he will not complete the task according to his own vision. Rabbi Singer concludes, our own need to control our fate and have the validation of the complete fulfillment of our labors may find resonance in the exchange between Moses and God. This passage speaks to us and touches us because we know the feeling of disappointment. We carry with us the times that despite our best efforts, our greatest planning, our highest hopes, sometimes the answer will be no. For many of us, we are in that time now. The special trip we had planned to take this summer, the simcha or funeral we cannot attend in person, the program we were supposed to start, the time with our dear ones that has been taken from us. Like never before, we share the sadness of disappointment, one after another, after another. I reflect back to my attempt to shield my children from disappointments by packaging so much in the camouflage of surprise. Yes, it was an effort to protect them, but now I can see that even deeper at its core, it was ultimately a failed attempt by Jeff and me to dodge our own discomfort with the real pain and fallout that happens when our hearts are broken because we feel disappointed. You see, try as we did, our efforts were ultimately futile, not because we didn't do it right, but because of the fact that disappointment is a human experience that cannot be circumvented by those whose life and hearts full of hopes and dreams and wants and prayers. And so, where do we find comfort in this realization? How did Moses find comfort? Rabbi Singer concludes his teaching by illuminating the words of 14th century French philosopher and scientist Gersonides, who taught, "It is appropriate for human beings not to glory in their wisdom and achievements, making the claim that they have achieved many things. Rather, we should always be aware that we are missing a great deal, and we are only beginners." Gersonides offers a profound insight that Moses, even in his greatness and accomplishment, was only a beginner. Rabbi Singer concludes, despite his disappointment with God's answers, Moses continued teaching and ultimately was content only with a vision. Our Torah, our instruction from our teachers on this Shabbat is to be like Moses, to find our way towards Moses, to see ourselves like he did as beginners. We can feel the sadness and the anger that accompany disappointment, and we should. And we should know that it is real and hard and painful. And then we can recognize that we are beginners, no matter our age or our stage, our skill set or our accomplishments, and that we have great richness still within us, and we can find beautiful contentment in the vision. Shabbat Shalom. As we turn towards the conclusion of our service, we now remember those who were a model of that kind of living to us, those whose memories continue to inspire us. Our thoughts turn to them, those with whom we shared life and laughter, those whom we miss with all our hearts, those who we think about when we need sources of strength and encouragement in times of sadness and disappointment. We take a quiet moment now to remember our dearest ones now gone from our midst. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. Our hearts go out in profound sympathy to the families of Jan Amundsen, Diane Gates Dante, Bernice Eisen, Marianne Dreyfus, and Alan Wilner, laid to their eternal resting places just in recent days. And we lovingly remember those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, falls on this Shabbat. Alvin Ablon, Minnie Asaya, Gwendolyn Bauman, Edith C. Baumel, Eleanor Boots Bergman, Isaac Batesh, Mark Joel Birnbaum, David Blonstein, Sarah Blonstein, Adolf Blumenfeld, J.R. Blumrosen, Isaac Boniek, Elsie Mae Briley, Ellen Brockstein, Max Bushman, Sadie Kaplowitz, Leah Cohn, Bertha Davis, Judith Dolick, Irene C. Dorr, Minnie Duval, Ray Fastow, Abe K. Fish, Joseph C. Freed, David Frosch, Jake Gandler, Samuel Gelfon, Arthur Goldman, Gertrude Oshman Goldstein, Morton Gordon, Jean Green, Jack Greenfield, Saul Gross, George Heiken, Rose Hamovit, Theodore Hartman, Helen Simpson Hayes, Lottie Joseph, Sam Kamen, Joseph Karkowski, Vicki Kennedy, Harry S. Kessler, David Kessler, Eric Kleiman, Beverly Kovnat, Maurice Krinsky, Sonia Lewis Kronberg, Marjorie Wolf Landy, Frida Lerner, Herbert Levine, Julius H. Lozer, Roger Manny, Babe Machisoff, Mary Ellen Neerloff, Sydney G. Odell, Nina Posner, Theo Posner, Shirley Radner, Al Rosenblum, Daniel G. Rosenthal, Freddie Ablon Ross, Clarence Salmon, Joseph Louis Sandler, Rose Shaps, Bernard Schnitzer, Paul Schneider, Sidney Shuby, Nathan A. Schwartz, Hilda Seliger, Celia Shapiro, Howard Sheldon, Herman Siegel, Hyman Leon Sloan, Benjamin Sofar, Golda Stolben, Mrs. Edith Sukonic, Carol Underwood, Herschel Wayne Weinberg, Elvin Weisenberg, Ben Wolf, Raquel Wolowski, Ed Wolf. With grief and sympathies mingled, we rise together to praise God with the words of Kaddish. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. I invite you to please rise and join in these words. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach yurtei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lemei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yittaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha brihu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da amiram bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Hosei shalom b'imromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen.
Hosei shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru, amen. It's now time for our Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrahe kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
I have a pretty awesome challah here. Ooh.
Ooh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We close tonight with a song we all love about love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let
We ask for love and comfort among life's storms, especially the storm of disappointment. And we ask, O God, for blessings from you in words that are ancient and hallowed by time. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of God's presence shine down upon you and be very sweet and gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's goodness and blessing and comfort and love always be turned to you and grant you peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.